What is it about this group where resiliency, things like what happened to Sophie, what is it about them that seems to bring the best out in them?
First and foremost, they're good human beings. You know, they're selfless, they're tough, and every single person on this roster is valued for how they impact women, whether they play a second or not. They give and give and give to this team, and I'm thankful for this group.
Sophie Cunningham's season is officially over, and it happened in the most heartbreaking way possible. 1 minute she was battling on the court against Connecticut, and the next she was on the floor after Bria Hartley crashed into her knee. That pop wasn't just audible, it changed the entire trajectory of the Fever season. Indiana has already been gutted by injuries, but this one stings way more than just losing another body. Why? Because Cunningham was stepping up when nobody else could, and now her absence leaves the Fever scrambling for answers right before the playoffs. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. What really separates Sophie Cunningham's injury from all the others Indiana has suffered this season is the timing and the role she had stepped into. Injuries are tough for every team, but the Fever have been operating with a thin margin all year. They lost multiple backcourt players already, but those were absences they had managed to patch up. Cunningham, though, wasn't just another body in the rotation. She had turned herself into an essential part of how the team functioned on both ends.
Sophie Cunningham went out in the first half. And that was such a huge blow for the Indiana Fever because Sophie Cunningham has been somebody, she has been the glue of this team since Caitlin has been out. So as you can see here, Bria Hartley is going baseline, Kelsey Mitchell is guarding her, and then Sophie comes over to help. And then Bria Hartley falls on her leg and Sophie immediately grabs like her shin area. She is playing so incredibly well during the second half of this season. She plays hard every single night. She's super tough. She doesn't make excuses. Like, she is somebody who has really held this team together.
That's why when she went down, the entire arena instantly knew this wasn't going to be just another name added to a long list of injuries. This was the one that could break Indiana's season. The play itself didn't look dangerous at first glance. Bria Hartley drove in hard and lost her balance, falling sideways right into Cunningham's planted leg. The collision snapped her right knee backward, and the sound that followed silenced everything. Fans in the lower rows said they could actually hear the pop. Sophie immediately grabbed her knee and dropped flat to the floor, her face twisted in pain. She didn't even try to roll over or get up, which is when you knew it was serious. Sometimes players try to shake it off, even when it's bad. Cunningham didn't move an inch until trainers rushed out. The reaction from her teammates added to how heavy the moment felt. Players from both benches circled around while Sophie lay there motionless, except for her hand clenching at her knee. Kelsey Mitchell put her hands over her face, and Nalissa Smith looked like she couldn't even watch. The crowd sat frozen in shock, some whispering, some gasping. It felt less like a game and more like a collective realization that something devastating had just happened to one of their leaders. The Fever can't afford to lose anyone right now. They were already missing 3 guards who were supposed to carry key minutes throughout the season. Combine that with Caitlin Clark still sidelined, and you're left with a backcourt rotation hanging by threads. Cunningham was the steady perimeter option who gave Indiana a sense of balance. She wasn't their biggest scorer on paper, but what she brought showed up every single night with her energy, her spacing, and her ability to knock down shots when defenses packed the paint.
First, I was like, oh my gosh, did she roll her ankle again? Because as we know, Sophie has rolled her ankle so many times this season. She has been battling little ankle injuries and she has played through all of them. Now, she was on the ground. She was crying. She was yelling. It definitely seemed like she was in a ton of pain. The training staff went over to her. They went to commercial break. Like, Bria Hartley going to her left, dribbling to the baseline, skip passing across the lane. But with that, she gets kind of tangled up. She falls down. She falls straight into Sophie's leg. And then Sophie grabs her shin midsection area. It was a real injury. This wasn't something, and Sophie's the type of player, a lot of times when she does get injured, she just gets right back up. She tries to walk it off. This was something that kept her down, and it was so hard to see.
Statistically, she was enjoying her best shooting year yet. Her field goal percentage hit career highs, and her accuracy from beyond the arc forced defenses to rethink their coverage. Opponents couldn't sag off her like they sometimes had in the past, which opened the floor for cutters and bigs to operate inside. And when Clark was missing, Cunningham even stepped into a backup ball handling role, something that wasn't really in her job description but became necessary. Without her, Indiana suddenly loses not only a spacing shooter, but also a security option with the ball. Think of how she fit in the offense. Standing out on the wing, she stretched defenders out to the perimeter. That meant fewer double teams collapsing on Aaliyah Boston and more room for Mitchell to drive. Defenses couldn't cheat away from her without paying the price, because she punished them with that quick release jumper. That kind of presence on the floor makes the whole system look cleaner, even when the stat sheet doesn't scream superstar numbers. Now here's where the uncertainty piles up even more. Clark still doesn't have an exact return date, which already left the Fever scrambling for temporary answers in the guard rotation. With Cunningham also out, it begs the question, who actually takes on the load now? Indiana can't just rely on more minutes for players who were barely cracking the lineup before. This is going to force new responsibilities on teammates who didn't expect to be carrying this much. Head coach Stephanie White made it clear how much Cunningham meant, framing her injury as a major blow not only on the court, but in the locker room. It wasn't just about scoring, it was about how confident everybody else played when Sophie was out there. That's leadership you can't put a number on, and suddenly Indiana has to move forward without it. The team's first move after the announcement was a quick roster shake. They waived Kira Lambert and brought in veteran Shea Petty through a hardship contract. It's a short-term fix, almost like putting tape over a crack in the wall. Petty adds experience and can help run some offensive sets, but she isn't going to replicate Cunningham's shooting or spacing. Still, it's a decision born out of necessity, proof of just how desperate things have gotten. And that's the backdrop for where the Fever find themselves now. This latest setback isn't just an injury story anymore. It turns the rest of their season into a demanding test of survival, where depth, adaptability, and resilience matter more than ever before. Sophie Cunningham going down isn't just about losing a shooter. It's about testing if Indiana can adjust fast enough to survive a brutal playoff chase. Every game ahead feels heavier now because the depth is paper thin and every rotation matters. Do you think the Fever can still hang on and grab a postseason spot? Or is this wave of injuries around the league something the WNBA has to deal with in a bigger way? Indiana's story isn't over yet. It's shifting into one about grit, leadership, and a team refusing to quit when everything keeps getting harder.